One problem common to human beings everywhere: how to put the difficult past behind us. No matter what class, what culture, what education, what religion, what age, what emotional maturity, what home you live in, how much money and wealth you have, regardless, every human being sooner or later faces this. Is it a problem? Is it a challenge? Repetitively across the lifespan. How can we put our difficult past behind us and get on and live a creative, positive life into the future? In the fullest awareness of what happened back there and then, how will we best navigate a pathway into a new space in the here and now? How to let go your resentments, your jealousies, your littleness of back there and then, and discover that important release and allow yourself that new freedom to flourish in the here and now and onwards into the future. That's the issue before us today. Indeed, that's the issues before us every day. It is a challenge before every psychologist and psychotherapist, every sports coach, every person of religion, every person every teacher of music. In reality, how do we put whatever has happened back there and develop something new and good in the future? The traumas and the troubles back there and then can be so compulsive, so demanding, that many disciplines become totally absorbed in how to help us find that release. Psychology, religion, medicine, education, arts, sports, daily exercise. We can become blocked, you see, blocked by the arrest in the past and by our lack of those important navigational skills that would lead us forwards. Often in that arrested state, we go back over and over the things of the past. What happened or did not happen back there? And that can drain us of the energies and the capacities to be alive and present in the now. The psychoanalyst Christopher Bolus wrote that momentous events, self-defining moments, can so easily get smothered under the self, which has become arrested by the facts and by the fictions of our life. Instead of hitching ourselves to a star that would lift us into the future, we let down the heavy anchor of our life, the anchor into the past, and that's where we're likely to let it lie, fixed in some place in the past. So it's good that we read those passages from the epistle today. Each one of them was talking about how we might leave the past. Whatever has happened, it says, but now. You who were once tied up in the negatives of your past. You who were once slaves to all your past negatives and past behavior. Yes, you were, but now you've been brought aware of the new possibilities of living a different life. We could put this on a much larger scale. Back in 1786, Robert Burns wrote these words: man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands mourn. Dare we say that was back there and then? But now we're aware of a different way to live. Dare we say it? Oh no, we can't say it. We read again of the European Holocaust. The story is repeated and repeated. Back there and then. The sheer brutality and inhumanity of man to man. But now we're different. In Kenya, in Iraq, in multiple places around the world, are we different? Child abuse has brought prolonged suffering. And only a fraction of that suffering will be relieved by the $47 million the Catholic Church has already paid out to the victims. In this city, just a week or so ago, a man chased down a young woman in the early morning, stripped her naked, and killed her. This time, notice there were no street marches to signal our wide community's intolerance, revulsion of such behavior. Violence against women or violence against men. Violence is violence, whether it is against men or against women. And still we act as if that violence is one of the accepted forms of our behavior in a modern society. Perhaps it is time that we should say much more loudly, but now, we're going to be different. We're going to project a different way of treating each other, of being human in a contemporary society. Are we going to do that? We don't do it. We allow it to happen, and we act as if, well, that's what does happen. Every night, particularly weekend nights, we're always aware of what's going to happen. We see that putting the offenders into jail doesn't really deal with the problem. We keep putting them into jail, building bigger jails. It doesn't deal with the problem. It doesn't fix the problem. Nor does it propose an effective way ahead to help people live better lives. Not only so, but we are repeatedly confronted with various expressions of I call it malignant prejudice. Some of our prejudice, we might pass it off as being benign, but we're seeing more and more malignant prejudice. That there's a sleeping monster in our own homes, on our trams and trains, in our parliaments, and in our workplaces, all attesting to our inhumanity, our worst humanity, back there and then, marching rampantly into our living rooms every night per favour of our television news. As if we've given up on affirming and celebrating the ways of compassion and a better humanity. As if we've given up the practices of a creative intelligence for our modern life. As if we've given up pursuing a cosmological morality. As if we've given up on putting forward an alternative community psychology. No. We're prepared to accept the things that happened back there and then as things which will go on happening now. We're all fairly good commentators on what happens out there back then and lose the consciousness of our place on the largest stage, the stage upon which we are walking. That we forget that we ourselves, all of us, whoever we are holding the cords to open the curtains on our stage. That the footlights on our stage are right there, waiting to be turned on to show how we will play our part on the stage of life. So let me try to put this spotlight on the things that we can do. I'm going to suggest 3 things to give some added meaning to our back then. And then I'll go on to put forward 3 things for our but now. So let us go back then. 3 things. We do know that some of our experiences, our achievements, our attitudes of back then were good. And we should note that and say they're good and celebrate them. They have enhanced people's lives. What we've done back there and then. They've brought good meaning to people's lives. They've highlighted the best possibilities of our lives and other people's lives. back then has carried us into the now with some vital enjoyments, some vital enhancements, and an important elevation to the human spirit. Back then. Back then, secondly, some of the events and experiences, the anguish and the sadness, the suffering and the pain, need a constructive and decisive gentleness and soothing. We need some degree of release, or search for that release from our sadness, our pain, our suffering. So the second point is about soothing and release. And the third thing, about back then. We look at things back then, and in those succinct words of Dag Hammarskjöld, the one-time Secretary General of the United Nations, we might say, for all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes. Gratitude and affirmation. Three things, then, for the now. But now. In the past, certain things have occurred. Negative things, positive things. Whatever. They're now in the past. But now. In the past, certain things were given. And certain things were withheld. But now. Number one. But now we strive to gather the strengths and the skills to adapt. That's a great gift. That's a great piece of learning. How to adapt a life that is now waiting for us to live it. Adaptation. How to adapt. We often need help to adapt. But adaptation is the possibility. Many people are stuck in their back thens and never do adapt. We've got to put forward the positive note that adaptation is possible. Secondly, we're to open ourselves to the discovery of the present moment. To make sure we don't let all the back there and thens lose that present moment. It is an endangered moment. We can easily lose it. The life we have now, we need to discover the excitement. So this is the discovery of some excitement about the here and now. And thirdly, we need to focus on flourishing in the next 10, 20, 60 years of our life. I have recently purchased Daniel Goleman's new book. For many years, he has been recognized as one of the very distinguished psychologists of the world. And one of his early books was called Emotional Intelligence. So many people have at least heard that term, even though they may never have known where it came from or never read the book. I need to say a little more about that book, except that it was written in 1995 and that 5 million copies were sold in 40 languages. That certainly speaks about a book that has affected the lives of many people. And here and there, several psychologists have been affected by it. I wish more were, but we all need to be affected by it. But the book for our now, today, his latest book, published in 2013, is called by one word, just one word. It happens to be number 3 in my F words of my F paradigm. And the word is focus. And he dedicated the book, his book, for the well-being of generations to come. Focusing forwards. Whatever has happened in the past, focus. Focus is the hidden driver of excellence, he wrote. Focus is the essential energy of life. Focus is the most important thing to live by. Focus on the most important things to live by. Focus. From time to time, back there and then, even in the now, we lose our focus and we go all over the place. We change our attention to over here, over there, somewhere else. Focus. Come back into focus. Focus on what is really important. Focus on the best and most positive energy. Focus on the enhancing presence of your life. Focus on flourishing for the next 5, 10, 20, 60 years. For the things back then, we might find some enhancement, some enjoyment, some elevation, some soothing, some gratitude, some affirmation from the past, back then. For the things here and now, we need to adapt to this present moment and all of its possibilities, all of its demands, all of its givens. We need to rediscover some excitement about the present moment, here and now. We need to focus on what is really important, on the things that are the best givens. Focus on flourishing your life. Focus. For all of these, we need some faith. Faith. Faith that reminds us that we continue to look at ourselves as a real person. We need faith for that. We learn a little more every day, hoping that eventually we will understand ourselves better, more fully, as the Bible says, and be more fully understood. We need faith for that. The then is not only about our bad and sad past memories and behavior. We can also look back with pleasure on those good moments, our creative achievements, our astonishing experiences, our own good mind, or as what Edward de Bono called, our own beautiful mind. Many find plenty to be self-reproachful about. But let that be back there and then. Now is the time to refocus your life, to refocus on better models to emulate, to refocus on better friendships to cultivate, to refocus on stronger ideals and ideas to incubate. The back there and then often gets a bad press. It is important to acknowledge and affirm that the back there and then gave us the step ladder to step up to the present. Out of the past, of the then, come vital adaptive information, coping histories, codes of living together better, cultural enrichments, memories of our identity, belonging, and our orientation. But our now relies heavily. Of course it relies heavily on what happened, the good things of what happened back there, even the bad things of what happened back there, as we reintegrate them, reinfuse them into our lives. Focus on the past to hear then what is possible, what is ahead. Focus forwards. Your religion, when people say to me, well, what good is religion anyway? Religion says what has been given. We know about our religion by its back there and then, in the past. But its givenness is really not only about the past. It says that come on forward. It is given for us to live in the here and now. And what is it meant to do? Your religion, your faith, your new faith. It is meant to bring a new focus into your life. Enlarge and enhance the focus of your life. It is meant to change the way you relate to each other forwards. And it is meant to elevate the human spirit. So there it is again and again. The religion says to enhance, to enjoy, to elevate. Is that your religion? Let it be so in the here and now.